friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I wanted to share with you today a couple of homemade natural remedies that I have recipes on already out there. They're actually kind of old, especially this one here. However, I wanted to share with you a couple of testimonials of some recent uses for both of these and how they worked amazingly well. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the all-natural homemade painkiller and anti-inflammatories for your dogs. And I believe for the most part this will work on cats. You'll just probably want to leave out the catnip that I put in it, because catnip is a sedative for dogs, but it's a stimulant for cats. So I would recommend leaving out the catnip if you're trying to use it for pain and inflammation and to keep them calm. So yesterday it was, Patrick was getting in the truck to leave, and every time he goes anywhere, Cody gets super excited and he can hardly contain himself because he always wants to go with him, especially if he thinks he's going up to the property because he loves it there so much. So what he was doing, Pat didn't see exactly what happened, but he kept trying to jump in the truck, and at some point somehow he jumped up onto his shoulder and fell backwards, and Patrick didn't see how he landed, but he was clearly in a lot of pain, and he limped back into the house and he was whining, and I was very concerned because he kept closing his eyes, and I don't know if he was just because he was hurting, but I was afraid that maybe he'd landed on his head and could have possibly had a concussion. But I kept a close eye on him, and one of the first things I did was, he doesn't totally like the flavor of these. Sometimes the dogs will eat these ones up pretty good, but not always. I might have made these ones a little stronger than usual. But anyway, I gave him this homemade, they're shaped like little roses. In fact, I'll get a close-up picture here. They're kind of ugly, but anyway, I forced him, I kind of made this into smaller pieces and forced him to take a little bit at a time. And then he went and laid down and took a nap, and then just to make sure he was okay, I woke him up and checked on him. Totally fine. Let him go back to sleep. He slept for a little bit longer, and then he was back to being his normal self, and he didn't seem to be in any pain whatsoever, and was happy and excited and playing like he normally would. And this has been a repetitive thing with him, that he's so fragile and tiny that he always seems to sprain something or hurt something. He eats plenty. We give him plenty of food, but he's just very opposite of his sister Luna. She tends to put the weight on, and he tends to stay very, very skinny. But so he's more likely, and he's very bouncy and jumpy, and he gets carried away and always seems to hurt himself. And so having these on hand have been very helpful, and usually within 20 minutes he's totally back to himself. If he's like, one time he was hurting, I'm sure he sprained his leg. He slammed, him and his sister were playing really hard, slammed into a chair in the other room, and then he was just like crying and limping around. He could barely walk on his leg. Gave him one of these. In 20 minutes he was back to playing with his sister as if nothing happened. So I really swear by this recipe. It was one I came up with on my own, but you can tailor it to suit your pet's needs. I'll go ahead and link to that video right up here. It is an older video, so it was before we got these lights here, so it's a little dark, so please forgive me on that. We kind of add to things as we go because YouTube doesn't pay a lot of money, so we can't, when we were first starting out especially, we could not afford to put a lot of money into investing into lights and fancy equipment, but we're getting better. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the homemade antibiotic, and I have a recipe that's a little more recent. I'll go ahead and link to that right up here. And in that one, it was the one where I was making these two batches right here. Now, this one right here is made only with, I think it's glycerin and water. So this one would be totally child-friendly and possibly pet-friendly too, because there's no alcohol in it whatsoever. Now, I'm not going to be using this one because I'm pretty sure this jar has a crack in it. I have no idea how it got in there, but I was looking closely at it and I seen a crack going this way. I think it's a crack. I don't think it's a flaw in the glass. And I'll look a little bit closer, but if it's actually a crack in the glass, I won't be able to tell until I take the lid off and try to strain it out. And if the thing falls apart, then I know it was cracked. And then I'm going to toss it because you just don't want to take the chance that there's any glass shards in that. But I do have this wine-based one here. So this is the one I made with my own homemade wine. And anyway, though we haven't used either one of these yet because I still had plenty of this one that I had made. And this one I think was a mixture of vodka and glycerin. And so it has a sweet flavor to it, but it wasn't fully vodka, so you could take a little bit more. So I may not be able to consider it a tincture, it's more of an extract. But anyway, I told the story before about my son, my youngest son, when he was about 21 or 22. He'd had an earache for 3 days and he was pretty sure it was infected. And I didn't know about that sooner. I would have had him take this sooner. But when he finally said, hey mom, do you have any ideas what I can do? I think I have an ear infection. And so I was like, well, you should have come to me sooner. And I gave him about a half shot, I think it was, of the antibiotic tincture or extract. And next day he was totally fine. In fact, he forgot all about it. I had to ask him, well, how's your ear? Oh yeah, it's fine, it's all better. Even though it had bothered him 3 days straight. All he needed was half of a shot, which is about 2 tablespoons of the antibiotic extract, and he was totally fine. And so then the other day, now that was a few years ago, well, the other day his girlfriend came over and she said that she had an earache and it was all swollen back in here and it had been bothering her for several days. And she finally, Justin said, hey, go talk to my mom. I bet she has something that'll help you out. And so I had her take a half shot of this, just like I do with Justin, before she left, and then gave her a bunch to take home with her so that she could take it a couple of times a day. And I told her, take it again in the evening, take it in the morning, take it in the evening, just a half shot. It's actually safe to take more if you want, but if you think you need it, like maybe 3 times a day, but anyway, once to twice a day is really all you need for this. And in a couple of days I asked her, I said, well, how you doing? And oh yeah, it's all better. So just a couple of testimonies I wanted to share with you. Now, if you're interested in how I made the antibiotic tincture, now's a good time to learn about it because you're possibly already growing without even knowing it, growing what you need to go in this. So I'm going to link to that video right up here so you can check it out. And there's other herbs and stuff you can use for your antibiotics. You can add more to them if you want. You can play with it. Just keep in mind when you're working with herbs, normally I just experiment and do things and mix things together. There's some things you probably want to double check and see, okay, is it okay if I have this with this with this? Or it's also going to depend on you, and each herb, each type of antibiotic herb is going to work differently for each person as well. So maybe this particular one won't work as good for you as maybe making one out of oregano or turmeric or ginger or a combination of all of the above. However, this is just one thing, one herb that you grow in your garden. So I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to have you go check it out yourself because I am sold on this stuff. I grow this every year. It's an annual and I'm very sold on it. It's easy to grow and has so many uses and benefits. So yeah, I'm just very excited about every time I'm able to take something from my garden. Not everything that was in this is from my garden, but some of you can probably grow all the things that are in there. I can't. But at least one thing, which was the catnip, is something that I grow in my garden that works really good for him. There's something so wonderful about being able to go out to my backyard and get what I need to take care of whatever health problems we're having. If we're having issues with pain and inflammation, we just go pick maybe an echinacea leaf, but usually I'll go with feverfew and catnip and eat those together. And those really help a lot with pain and inflammation. But there's all kinds of other herbs you can grow out there to help with that. And if you saw my talk video, I know the sound was kind of bad, but the demonstration or the presentation I gave in Rochester, by the time you're seeing this, it will have been at least a month. I'll go ahead and link to that right up here because I talk about a lot of this different stuff in there to kind of give you ideas of things that you should consider growing. I also have another video on getting your medicinal herb garden started that I will link to right up here. Again, just talking about the herbs I recommend, the ones that I already grow, but there's so many more out there and you have to tailor your herbs that you grow for your specific needs according to your climate and what you need. And some herbs, you know, like the ones that grow good for us may not grow good for you where you're at. You may have to find another one that works just as well. Now, I have many more different herbal remedies or homemade natural remedies for various different things, cough, colds, flus, that have all been successful for us. But I wanted to focus on these two because it was just the testimonials of the more recent things that we've used these for and how well they worked for us. So go check those other videos out, and you can just do a search on my channel for them. So I hope you found this video inspiring, and that will encourage you, if you haven't already started growing your own herbs and making your own natural remedies, to learn about these things and get started and take charge of your own health so you don't have to rely fully on doctors and big pharma to do it for you. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.